Okay. Okay. This is officially the last one. I really can't fucking do this anymore. This is horrible. Okay. Okay. It just goes on. Okay. Shit, man, this is gonna make tons of money on the internet. And I love that facial expression you used right as you began to go. It's like you were really holding it in, but at the last second, your bowels just exploded with fury and you let it all out. I exhaled and turned to look at the director. I was holding it in. I chuckled. Well, thanks for the show. Feel free to check out the rest of the studio. I will. By any chance, do you know of a chubby brown and gray walrus who farts a lot and has a big mustache? Oh, you must mean Finn. He should be finishing up his video in room 1687. Good. Thanks for the info. No problem. Hey, what's your name so I can call you in that video I just shot? Just call me Bat Breath. I walked out of room 1284, my pants squishing like a sponge and leaking shit with each step I took until I was back inside the corridor and began to walk to my destination. On the way, I happened to peek inside another room that was halfway open to see a familiar tiger standing in front of a yellow mouse. The mouse was on his knees, and his muzzle was halfway up the tiger's asshole. It was Samuel and Roger again, and it seemed like the rodent was busy rimming his boyfriend's ass. He was masturbating, as always, and giggling softly as he moved his tongue up and down the tiger's messy asshole. Samuel turned around and rubbed Roger's head briskly before shoving his head further inside his ass. See, love? Now we can do this and get paid for it, said Samuel sensually. Roger giggled again and continued to rim the tiger. He exhaled and opened his mouth, biting down on the hole playfully before licking the foul pubes around his ass and taint. I couldn't tell what it must have tasted like, but I merely imagined the time I was rimming Casey when he was constipated for nearly a month and wound up taking a hyper shit. Roger suddenly gasped with shock once he noticed that a warm fluid was dripping down his face and maw. Samuel chuckled as his ass began to leak, and Roger opened his mouth wide, lapping at his tail hole to rim the tiger some more and to drink his diarrhea. He farted and covered half the mouse's head with stinky poo before grunting and bringing his head in a little closer. Roger saw the large log of shit coming out and kept his mouth open wide, masturbating furiously. Samuel grunted softly and started to poop in Roger's mouth, but he didn't shoot it out all at once. He defecated enough so the mouse could gather enough shit in his mouth before swallowing. Roger moaned and closed his eyes, gulping down the giant shit log as though it was a massive foot-long Subway or hot dog. It was hard and stinky, and Roger actually had to stop momentarily so he could chew some of it. But with the final fart and grunt from Samuel, he dropped the remaining part of his shit, and Roger grabbed it with his mouth. He started to chew on the giant pile of manure slowly, smiling and moving his jaw up and down as the stinky, dirt-flavored poo flowed down his throat. The rodent swallowed the log with a loud gulp before exhaling, having shit smeared all around his face. I don't normally throw up when I drink, but this might be one of the occasions where I do. And it's all for you. Okay. I just gotta get through this. This is just so bad. Okay. Want another midnight snack? Oh yes. Roger hissed, his breath strong enough to smell even from where I stood. Samuel giggled again and wiggled his ass in Roger's face before bending over and grunting, squeezing another smelly log of shit out of his ass for Roger to swallow. I smiled widely and thought about joining the two in the video, but I was getting sidetracked and continued to walk down the corridor. I was about to hit room 1687 when I heard raucous flatulence that was so sudden it startled me. And for a second there I didn't think you'd make it. I turned around and saw Finn standing next to a vacant room, his arms crossed. He was still wearing the red floral shorts, still had the thick mustache, still had the brown and gray fur, and still let out farts that could be described as a sonic boom. He wasn't smiling, but he had this face that looked like he was very eager to see me. Despite Finn's girth and size, there was another walrus roughly 3 feet taller than him, with twice as much girth and muscle. The walrus behind him had a mixture of olive green and gray fur and was wearing dark blue cargo shorts. His feet smelled like he had recently been treading through a sidewalk coated with Limburger cheese that had been doused in malt vinegar. And if he were to lean over and break wind, it would sound as loud, if not louder, than Finn's. I've been busy. Really? Yeah, I said, embarrassed. I don't suppose you've met my father? I looked up at the giant walrus again and blinked. This is your dad? Pfft, what did you think I was? His bouncer? His voice was gruff like a lumberjack or a construction worker. 10 to 1, that's what his job was. Like his son, he had a thick mustache and his breath smelled like fish. Although I could tell he was a serious drinker, considering I also could smell the various schoon shots on his breath, too. No, I just, well, his father chuckled. Calm down, I'm not going to rip your wings off. I just came here to see what my son was making. All those fart vids of his are really revitalizing, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh my god, dude. This is so fucking disgusting. Come on. Finn's father chuckled and patted his back before sliding his hand further south, digging into his floral shorts. The walrus giggled and started playfully pushing his father's arm away. Come on, Dad, stop. You're embarrassing me here. You know you want it. Yes, but not now, Pop. Maybe you could go back home and watch the ball game till I get back. His father chuckled again and took his hand out of his son's shorts. Okay, I'll see you later then. It was nice meeting you, Arnek. Yes, Arnek. The burly walrus turned around and began to walk away, cutting a huge fart before turning around and grinning devilishly at his son. Judging by the look on his face and bulge in his pants as he saw his father walk away, I knew they had some form of ancestral relationship. No fucking shit, man! It's great! I see you guys are very close. Oh yes. Yes, we are. I take it you've already made yourself a video? I looked down on my mess pants. What makes you say that? I don't think anyone who comes here is going to shit themselves that hard without someone catching it on camera. True. I chuckled nervously and started to scratch the back of my head. Do you think we could, Sure. We're both already here, so why the hell not? Unless you want to see that Zudomon first. What's a Zudomon? Suddenly, with 4 loud stomps on the ground that sounded like Trank was in the building, a massive Digimon appeared behind us. I couldn't describe it besides saying it looked like Bowser with the giant green turtle shell on its back. It was a burly, gruff walrus with orange and gray fur, blue eyes, and a jagged unicorn-like horn. Its tail was slippery and looked like it belonged on a mermaid, but overall an oversized anthro walrus. It wasn't the appearance that baffled me compared to the stench coming from the oversized creature. There was slime or some odd type of muck covered all over his body, and his feet smelled incredibly strong, like that from a skunk's or from a wrestler who'd never took off his boots in years. Every time he exhaled, all I could smell was onions mixed with feces and both. Both. Which, as the author specifies, is a mixture of bull and wolf hybrid urine. Not to mention the notorious skunk oil. Everywhere he walked, he left a slippery trail of shit behind. He was so incontinent that he could never stop shitting or letting out flatulence. I had to admit, the smell of the guy made me back away and plug my nose. "Oh, so you're Zudomon," I said, coughing a little. The creature let out a hacking laugh before belching in my face and raising his right leg to pass gas and inhale the odor. "Yes, I'm the famous Zudomon," he snorted. "What makes you, famous?" The creature laughed again and squatted to the ground. "I'll show you." We're almost done. Kind of. The Zudomon made 2 fists and let out several grotesque sharts before he began to poop on the ground. However, instead of pooping out a log of shit, he pooped out an egg. Yes, an actually egg of shit. The egg was very hard, though, and easy to withstand force, because it didn't break or crumble when it made contact with the floor. The Zudomon continued to poop until he screamed and began to rise into the air. The egg he was shitting out was growing in so much diameter that as he shat it out, he was rising into the air. Like me when it comes to soiling, he was enjoying himself thoroughly, as I ducked once he cummed all over the place, and then began to pee on the floor. Finn and I merely stood in amazement and stared at Zudomon crap out his egg until it was roughly 10 feet tall and 12 feet wide. It was green and black and reeked of tar and your everyday septic tank, combined with the horrible odor coming from the Digimon's asshole. After he shat out the egg, he hopped off the giant obstruction and stomped in front of us, turning around and staring at his talent. "Isn't she beautiful?" he said, passing more gas and drooling. "Yeah, it is. I've heard of a Pokemon who can do the same thing." The Zudomon sighed with glee and hugged his giant egg before opening his mouth and taking a large bite out of it. "You guys want some?" No. We gotta make a film soon. You have fun with your egg, alright?" "I will," said Zudomon, shooting a little bit of poop out of his mouth. Finn and I were standing in another porn room, with the door locked. Both of us were naked. I still reeked of my own filth, but Finn didn't seem to mind. And we were standing next to each other. The burly walrus was a few feet taller than me, and he smiled as he looked down and smiled leeringly at my body. I was still nervous, though, as I didn't know what would happen or what to do. I giggled nervously and rubbed my arm before looking back at Finn. "So, is there a script here that we have, or do we just..." The walrus suddenly shoved me to the floor before pinning me down with his foot. He promptly turned around and squatted so his ass was hovering above my head. Before I knew it, I was in heaven, and I could smell nothing short of hydrogen sulfide and fish guts. I heard nothing but squishing and trumpets playing, and all I saw was an asshole opening up so it could blow gas in my face. I gasped and inhaled the gas before Finn sat on my face and farted again. He sighed and wiggled his ass left and right, making sure he buried the stench in my face. Without further delay, he grunted and hiked up his leg to pass more rancid flatulence, smelling like bird poop and sewage waste. He lifted his head and smelled the odor before sighing triumphantly and squeezing out a louder, wetter fart that instantly gave me an erection. I couldn't breathe, but then again, I didn't want to. At the time, I was actually okay if I died suffocating under a funky walrus's ass and his egg-reeking flatus. But I knew Finn wouldn't do that to me, and he didn't. He was just trying to get me to come. Okay. This is the final stretch. I drink while I'm doing this so that I can forget. Okay. Come on. Oh man, here comes a big one. Finn leaned over a little before he let out a giant fart that could blow the scales off a dragon or fish, blow the fur off a canine or ursine, or crack a window that was over a foot thick and made of plexiglass. In fact, one of the light bulbs in the room did shatter, and Finn was lucky the camera didn't crack either. The smell of it was like Finn's father and my pants after I soiled them in the studio. It tasted musky, like rotten eggs dipped in shredded brimstones and garlic. It was all too much to handle. And if that wasn't enough, Finn passed gas for 25 seconds before he finally stopped. My erection was so hard that it hurt, and it was dripping with pre. Finn looked down at it and chuckled before shooting a final, short, but loud fart in my face. I finally shot my load into the air, and Finn rose from my face to give me some air. But to my amazement, he wasn't done. He kneeled down in front of me before grabbing my legs and bringing my feet up to his face, inhaling and sniffing heavily. He murmured loudly and exhaled before taking another strong sniff and opening his mouth to lick my blue soul. I didn't know he had a foot fetish, but after I looked down at his uncut penis and noticed he suddenly had a thick erection, it all made sense. He moved forward a little and held my legs high in the air so my asshole was partially visible before jamming his cock inside of it. There was no need for lube. My ass was already doused in greasy shit from before. It was ironic, though, because I was only actually hoping Finn would stop. Yeah. I was tired, exhausted even. Same. I had cummed 5 times in less than 24 hours, and there was only one occasion where it was because of masturbation. My ass and dick were tired, and all I wanted to do was sleep alongside Finn and have him give me countless Dutch ovens overnight. But as he thrusted forward, he passed gas and smiled while looking down on my face, and it was all worthwhile. Finn! He didn't respond and continued to fuck me missionary style. Each time he thrusted, he passed gas, sometimes louder than others. I couldn't tell what was better, the smell of his fish breath, as he exhaled in my face, the smell of his abrupt and loud flatulence, the sound of his farts, or if it was just the sweaty, strong odor of our bodies brushing against each other. It was all too much for me, and despite how much it hurt, I got another erection, on the verge of coming again. Yes, you like that, don't you, Bat Breath? I squealed like a mouse and I grabbed Finn's shoulder, nearly pulling off some fur with painful bliss. He moved forward some more and stuck almost his entire dick inside my asshole, and I could feel his warm pre-cum oozing its way out. He was gritting his teeth like me, but still smiling and moaning. He bent down and kissed me fervently before getting back up and thrusting faster than before, already seconds away from coming. He was passing so much gas, the room was becoming cloudy with a mysterious phase, and I caught a glimpse of the director masturbating himself. "Finn!" I screamed. But Finn thrusted forward and cummed inside my ass, simultaneously making me cum all over my face since my dick had tilted back and was pointed at my head. Instead of farting, Finn shat all over the room, coating it with messy, watery pieces of scat, as though he were spraying the contents from a septic tank out of his ass. A double blow, as we Viletopians call it. I should be glad he didn't do a triple blow, though, which is vomiting, shitting, and coming simultaneously. Finn was past the excess gas out his ass before exhaling and looking down at me. I was nearly unconscious, and my fur and skin on my face was coated with cum. I didn't respond or compliment him or try to kiss him in any way whatsoever. I just stared at him for another 30 seconds before passing out with a grin on my face. 3:12 a.m., Sunday. I woke up in Finn's muscular arms, realizing he was carrying me home. My clothes were back on, but I was still exhausted and having trouble staying conscious. I glanced at Finn's face and blinked a few times before calling out his name. "Finn. Don't worry, Bat Breath. I'm just gonna take you home. You must have been tired after the video we shot. I think it's time we put you to bed, eh?" "Are you sleeping with me?" "As long as you don't mind me cutting farts all night and don't plan to secretly chop up my body and eat me." I chuckled softly and buried my head in his shoulder. "Thank you, Finn." I was still debating whether or not I fell in love that night or just found another fuck buddy. But Finn was definitely different than the others. Besides, I can't even remember the last furry who carried me home the way he did. But there's something about him that makes me want to spend the rest of my life with him. Perhaps I'll find out what that something is one day. Okay, you know, just reading some comments. Um, I